We'll give people a few minutes to join. I know that the clock is ticking, but I don't think we'll start right away. We'll give people a couple, and in a few minutes we'll get started. All right, so let's get started. It's Friday, it's the last session, so everybody's going to get their package links today. If you're unable to attend, obviously we're going to be posting this video for those to watch, as well as we won't be taking the full hour. This generally goes 15 to 20 minutes, so don't worry about the entire hour session. Thank you for joining, contestants, and we'll get started with the onboarding. Okay, so where I wanted to start was specifically our DevOps World conference chance to speak and presentation. We're going to use this as part of the championship onboarding because the content is very relevant to why we started this contest, which is measuring the human toll that's out there within practitioners. I wanted to start by saying, look, there are a lot of us who join and go through this championship or contest will realize that we're trying to solve the issue of, letting people eat their dinner when they want, having weekends return to their family, not having deployment calls and maintenance windows. And the intent of this is to understand what we should be measuring, how we should be measuring it, use the tools we provide to help you identify that and correct that balance in your life. With that, I'm going to challenge how you see your metrics today. So I'm going to share great DevOps numbers. I put the question mark for the obvious reason is the source of these numbers may not be actually protecting your talent pool. It may be actually be harming them. So let's talk about the common success numbers. Code promotions. This is a very common statistic that DevOps says, hey, this is what you want to do. You want to increase velocity. You want to promote your code more frequently. You want to increase your code quality. You want faster deployments, i.e. that the length of time it takes to get them done. These numbers look really good. Traditionally, most people look at this and say, fantastic, you've done a great job. But the question becomes, is it going to sustain and scale? How many applications or environments within your companies are doing this? Or is it just a small portion that's actually hurting a team that's trying to perform? So technical and business benefits are obvious, right? We're measuring them very clearly. Are we delivering to our customers? Are we doing it effectively? But are we measuring the task and the taxing that puts on the teams that are actually delivering. Are they able to sustain that? And is it based on a very heavy spend to make those numbers a truth, right? A reality. So which metrics are driven by talent heroics, right? So I wanted to share, what are the missing data points that most organizations today are not measuring, which our calculator is going to actually help you do, so you can create a uplifting outcome, an orchestration that gives you some normalcy back to your life, as well as highlight the ability to scale with you just enhancing it, not being dependent on your heroics. So I'm just trying to give some items of what's happening. So when you have transformational initiatives such as, TI, many organizations call this, what happens over time is you have high attrition. I've gone through it. My own team, when we were doing those particular numbers that I presented, had 30% attrition. The reason being is we were working so hard. We were working efficiently, but we weren't working smart. We weren't removing our heroics out of the system. Production failures did still occur because we weren't targeting orchestration, we were targeting automation, which again hurts your talent. Audits were part of the requirements because we have large big tech enterprises that wanted particular level of governance. Again, that distracted some high-level talent resources to work on that. And if I don't promote to prod in an orchestrated way, I'm really wasting the talent because I'm focusing on development environments where my customers aren't, and then the values and efficiencies in non-production never really get to prod. So we have to solve that one. That hurdle has to be solved. And then too much heroics is not realizing that we are misdirecting our talent by saying, you're a SME, you're the one that can save us, rather than saying, why are you saving us in the first place? Why do you have battle scars? How do I heal those battle scars? Again, high toil, which really is why the attrition occurs. You're tiring your talent, and no one talented wants to be overburdened constantly. So what do I need to measure to find the pain? I'm sharing this because I didn't have the calculator before. We're bringing the calculator to the market so that you can use it and you don't have to do what I'm presenting today. It's just to understand where this came from and what you do if you didn't have such a calculator. So the measurements that we look at to protect talent, which isn't published anywhere on the market, this is our own understanding from our own research. You need to measure the percentage of failures in production, not the release window or change window. How many failures do you get in production during windows, right? That is then quantified by the amount of production and staging retries of successful deployments. So if you come to an organization and they say, hey, I was really good at my deployments. I've never failed my maintenance window. I've never failed my deployment call, but yes, it was a 6-hour to 8-hour event over the weekend, and it had 52 or 42 handcrafted changes, so we retried 6 times. That's a bad metric, but the business only sees the technical and business benefits. You did it. You succeeded in the window I allotted. But from a talent pool perspective, you're draining them, and those teams that are SMEs are going to leave. Again, if I'm going to fix it, then I need to measure how inefficient is my software development lifecycle. Right? Because that's measured, this is what our calculator will do, is going to measure all those inefficiencies or engineering ineffectiveness that you have within your organization, so you can actually solve the problems that look like good metrics to your organization. And then the number of production heroic hours. A lot of organizations don't track this at all. But in reality, if I have an incident and I have a team of 20 working for 2 hours trying to bring things back, I better be tracking that metric, because it means I don't have confidence in what I'm doing going to production. It means my SDLC doesn't provide the rinse and repeat model that I'm looking for. Okay, so what are, values that you should expect? Obviously, 0 is the target for the top portion of the metrics. Will you achieve it? No, but that should be your target. The same way you have a service level objective and a service level that you have to adhere to. One of them is your objective. Will you meet it? Who knows? The same thing. You want to aim for the best you can and then make time for self-development hours. If you get towards 0, self-development hours is the outcome. The reason being is the more you self-develop, the better you'll make the pipeline, the better you'll make the orchestration, the more advanced technologies you'll adopt. Okay, so I wanted to share my experience before I had the calculator, as I ran an engineering department or multiple engineering departments and security departments at NCR. I measured my battle scars, right? I needed to understand, technically they were raw, they didn't heal yet. I didn't have the orchestration that I needed, so I couldn't measure what I wanted other than I was successful in my maintenance windows. So I went into the calls and I made a event log. I tracked how long the calls went, which you could technically call, Zoom or WebEx and find out how long these calls go, or you actually be on it and, start to finish on your calendar, as well as the red dots. The red dots were the most important. Red dots means I screwed up. I had a SME come in, fix it, and try again. That is what's happening in most enterprises today. The leadership sees successful deployments, but in reality, you have a team working extremely hard that are loyal to strong leaders that haven't figured out how to remove the talent heroic dependency that they have within their team. So you wear your team out. They love their leaders. They love what they're doing. It's advanced technologies. You're going fast. Your metrics look good, but you're killing your talent. I then targeted orchestration. Orchestration is the key to removing battle challenges, because automation itself reduces the dependency on your talent pool, but they're still there. In orchestration, it removes the talent pool entirely so they can just work on maintaining the orchestrator and not the deployments themselves. So you don't need all these deployment calls. Oh, these metrics, not a single person was working on a weekend or evening. And technically, for months, there would be no issues that we needed to get onto a call, which is kind of where you start getting self-development. And it's an unending feedback cycle where the more I improve, the more time I have for my resources to improve their self-development hours. So this is where you want to head. Not everybody can do that measurement today, so we are launching this calculator. I'll show you it. I'm just giving you some screenshots here, so you know where you're hurting your teams. You know where your SDLC is not as effective with good engineering practices as possible. And that's what this contest is about, is to restore and heal all those scars that you're getting throughout all your releases of environments, of products, of services that happen outside normal hours that other people work. So let's go into the onboarding package. I'm just going to open it. You're going to get an email. The email is going to cover what you need to know, but I'm going to jump into the page so I can explain it for those that can't attend these sessions and want to watch the recording. So give me one moment. I'll just close this down and I will pull this up. Okay, so I'm in the contestant page. There is an upload your starting point. It'll also change to upload your finished state. Let's start with the starting point, obviously. You want to take a screenshot of the end state of the calculator, which is a report page. I'll show you that next. I just want to walk you through what's available on the contestant page. And then we want a short and simplified recording of your pipeline. With that, I can actually show you what a pipeline might look like. You would walk us through something like this. This is a Jenkins. It's very common. It's probably 70 to 75% of the market uses it as an orchestrator today for CI/CD. This is our pipeline. We use this. We specialize in everything that we're presenting. If it comes to performance, automated performance testing, if it comes to building artifacts, infrastructure, releasing applications, this is where we can help you. And if you need help, reach out. This is our specialty. So what we're doing here is we're taking all the processes away from being dependent on the talent. The talent builds this orchestration process. It's triggered by Git. And it gets me to the point where I promote to production, but in a way that I know I'm confident. One, from a security perspective, it's safe. You don't have to. I'm just giving examples. From a performance perspective, it's there. You will measure where you state today, and you will target improving things from an orchestration perspective. If I come back, we've also created a war chest, right? We know that these are battles. We know that as a practitioner and the doers, it's a lot of work and it's very disruptive to life for people that have a lot of talent, and we want to change that. So what we have here is we've put together trial licenses, or if you want, you can implement open source of what we consider to be strategic partners in enhancing your ability of helping your resources. I see Dynatrace helping you do your verification and performance to be confident that what you're releasing is healthy. I see HashiCorp playing within the security, the infrastructure automation to help you deliver environments that are safe and can do multi-cloud capabilities. And then the Red Hat portfolio down here is more about config as code and making sure the handcrafting that's really dependent on your SMEs becomes a rinse and repeat function within the release based on the profiles that you're using of those applications. So this is the landing page. You'll get a copy of it. I want to show the calculator next, and then we'll open it to questions. So let me just go back to the calculator, reset the calculator. I want to start from the beginning. So if you're looking at the calculator today, look, you're going to come in, it's your engineering effectiveness calculator. You're going to set your cadence for release. What I mean by that is it could be data center changes. It could be infrastructure creation. It could be releasing software. It's your choice of how you interpret it. The reason we add a salary is so that not only do you realize the amount of hours you're hurting your teams, but you also qualify it with, this is the amount of money that I'm spending on resources and hurting them rather than being productive. So we turn soft dollars into hard dollars. A lot of organizations see resources as soft dollars, but we see the talent pool as the transformation agent for organizations. And if the inefficiency is high and the dollars spent is also high, then you have a recipe for correction, which will then unleash additional hard dollars savings. You become more efficient with your process. So you can pick the stages. Right now we default 5 stages. You could delete whatever you want. You could call this, actually, if you wanted to, a data center in Prague, a data center in Germany, whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be development. Generally that would be production in most cases when you're building these systems, if it's environment or application. I'll try to remove some just so people can see it's dynamic. And I don't want to go through too many pages during this demonstration to onboard. Let me click next. It's going to warn you can't change the stages. What we mean by that is once you've created it, if you want to change the stages themselves, not edit the data, you have to start over. So we're just giving teams warnings to get the stages right. We break all change from an IT perspective into 6 pillars. I know it has somewhat of an enterprise perspective, but this applies to organizations that should be doing what enterprises are doing, but aren't because they're not orchestrated and you don't have the manpower. So you prioritize specific things, but that's not the circumstance of should it be happening or not. It's just you prioritize based on value. So process, environment, deployment, testing, security, and audit, they run across the top. You're going to be going through metrics that you're trying to fulfill so you can get a feel of all the efficiencies or inefficiencies within your release process. That could be, again, as we said, for environments, for technology, services, or products. Everybody knows there's going to be somewhere you're tracking what the change is going to be. You're going to need that just to know what's happening in environments. It's probably not automated. You probably have one of them. Your average time you spend on it, let's say it's 2 hours and 4 people work on it. You can click on or just go over the question marks. It'll tell you what each item is looking for. And then at the top, same thing. If you want to see what we're trying or expecting from you, it's all self-explanatory within the calculator there. If you do have questions, obviously you can reach out to the DevOps Championship email that we have. It's posted all over the pages. I'll move to environment. This one's a little more important to describe. The reason being is you're not going to turn on everything. Not every activity is something you're going to do because everybody practices differently. Environment create is a cloud native organization. What I mean by that is you don't reuse infrastructure, you don't keep it forever, which is the traditional methodology. I upgrade an existing system, I have drift between environments, triage becomes a very common event, and configuration is a requirement because I'm reusing and I have to change it from one version to the next. But if I do environment create, which is the cloud native methodology, I can recreate effectively, rinse and repeat environment recreations, and nothing lives forever sort of thing. I mean, the state lives forever. I will always have a service, but the environment itself is recreated. So let's say I'm cloud native. In this example, I do it once because I'm effective at it. I spend 2 hours on that. And I'd say 2 people work on it. I'm just putting in random data. Obviously, you would put in your respective data. Now I have something to deploy. Either you most likely have to build your artifact, you're going to most likely have to deploy it, and you're most likely going to have to validate it. We don't know what you're putting on top of your infrastructure, but there's going to be some components. This is just, let's say I have to build an artifact. Let's say I do that twice because one time it fails. I spend 1 hour on it, and there's two devs that work on it. I'm just putting in some data. I'm trying to fill it in. If you do automate it, it'll actually disqualify the values because you're doing it without burden to your resources. Okay, same for testing. We didn't pick every testing. We have high-level testing requirements. We didn't put things like soaking and stuff like that, but we put system integration testing, end user testing, user experience testing, functional testing. These are very common within organizations. Let's say I turn it on. I do it once. If it fails, I'll do it more times. The average time that runs, let's say it's 8 hours. Sometimes these are weeks and days, by the way. When we go into testing, I find that a very inefficient area. And you probably have 2 people working on it. I'm going to go into the security. Now, most organizations that I've seen, I've gone through, for whatever reason, these aren't filled in, and you may not either. But what we're trying to propose here is if I can automate and orchestrate the security requirements, I might actually deliver that value even though we don't see it as a top priority. That is why we're putting it in here. For organizations that do it, we can reduce the burden on them. But for organizations that don't do it, they can realize that this can become just as orchestrated as testing. And then security in itself isn't a meeting. It becomes a threshold. It becomes output that is collected for SMEs so that you don't do shift left, you shift together. Security, operations, dev, shift together with their bailiwick, which isn't happening today. We're having a dev-centric shift left, which actually is hindering some of the risk management capabilities of security personnel. Shift with them, and they will add their value within the context of CI/CD. I'll spend 1 hour on, I'll do it once, I'll spend 1 hour on it. You got 2 security people. I just put in some values. In Audit Prep is our target for audit. You cannot remove, if you are obligated to do audits for PCI compliance or PHIPAA, whatever it is, the audit is an external body or internal audit. If you have an internal audit team, they're going to be doing it. The preparation artifacts to provide to the auditors, it can be orchestrated within the pipeline, and then you just have a meeting with the auditor. In 3 hours, you're done your PCI compliance meetings. That's an example of it. We've done that with clients before. I've done that myself as a previous CISO. It's doable, turning a week engagement and a week of prep into three-hour meetings, showing them the artifacts that were automatically collected. You can live your life a lot better. I'm going to not go through the QA, ask the same questions. I wanted to get to the page that's really important for the contest. I want you to screenshot this. It will be your starting point. Make sure if you have lots of stages to press this button to expand. It actually says expand or to close. This is where we want to see all the data. This is your starting point of measuring your battle scars. You will then use the tools. The calculator gave you your insight. Target the highest benefits to your business. In this case, I only filled in development, so you get a big pie. But you'd have slices. I'm betting QA is going to be heavy for you, and if that's the context, target QA. Do your automated testing, because what we're measuring is improvement, right? So I want to see your innovative approaches to orchestrate. As I showed you, you can orchestrate within open source in many ways. You can orchestrate with partners, enterprise products that help you advance your capabilities. It's your choice. I want to see the improvement on the orchestration area. I want to see your battle scars heal, and I want to see these numbers come down so that tasks themselves are not dependent on you. They occur within the process. And then we take this screenshot, you expand it, we see all the data. You upload the screenshot and a short video of your pipelines. You just walk into your pipeline like us, you talk to it a little bit. Obviously, I want to see metrics. You don't have to run the pipeline entirely. I do want to see you speak to it a portion and see that it actually runs successfully. But I don't need, if it's like 25 minutes, for you to make a 25-minute recording. I'm expecting 3 to 5 minutes maximum. So With that, I'll stop presenting, and if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll take a look at the Q&A. One moment. All right, let's see. Anybody have any questions, or we're good? Okay, perfect. With that, thank you so much for joining, and take care.